As I was saying some time before, when I first was told this idea that people in events never actually hurt me, they're not the cause of my upset, so things that have happened to me, things that are happening to me, and the things that I think might be happening to me, these are not the cause of my upset or difficulties or pain. They're just simply instrumental in revealing a pain that's already within me. Swami Atma Prakasananda said that this is the beginning of emotional maturity. Now, straight away, because I sort of understood what she was saying, it meant very clearly that I was in many ways emotionally immature. Now, we can have all sorts of ideas about ourselves that we've accumulated, or ideas that we think that we are, or ideas that we'd like to be, like certain things. However, the reality is this, is that it doesn't matter how much I know with my mind, if understanding is something that I can live. And so if I think to myself, oh, I understand what Swami is saying, people and events are just simply instrumental in revealing a pain that is already within me. But if I am blaming and upset about people, if I'm attacking them or talking behind their back or frustrated and angry with them, I have not understood this as a fact. Now, there's a huge difference between understanding something as a fact and having the clear idea of something in my head. And this is the big difference. One type of understanding will actually transform the way you see things, and therefore, because you see it like that, because you're not blaming people, you will not be engaging in acts of retaliation, either to them directly or talking behind their backs, which is so common in the human experience. So in Vedanta is the subject matter of Vedanta it deals with how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we see the world. And when we first come to Vedanta, we see ourselves and we see the others and the world in a certain way. And this way of seeing has been formed in us. And we live out this way of seeing. That's what we do. We human beings cannot help but live out the way they see things. Can't help it. If I think you're an idiot, then I will avoid you. If I think that you're a terrible person, I'll probably attack you, rubbish you, or avoid you. So how we see things completely regulates how we are in this world. And this is the problem. The problem, what was being said, is the problem with human beings is, the essential problem is how I see myself, other people, and the world. Now, if through listening to a qualified teacher, where they are presenting or unfolding a vision of life that's radically different from my own standpoint, but if I do that and what becomes formed in me is a way of seeing as a result, a way of seeing which is different, and not only is different, that I can actually see by using my awareness, my ability to examine and inquire, and then my ability to discriminate between false and true, objective and subjective. I can actually see that, oh yes, this is very, very true. And then I can live out that understanding. But if I have this erroneous notion, people, especially in the spiritual world and in the Vedanta world too, just because I understand intellectually all these ideas, it doesn't mean anything, because like what I've said to you, the cognitive shift, the shift in a way of seeing. And how can I tell whether I've really understood? Well, it's quite simple, really. Fundamental to human life is that we're always in friction with things. We're in friction with ourselves. Oh, I hate that, I shouldn't have done that. And I start beating myself up because I haven't been perfect or haven't done what I wanted. Or I'm in friction with other people. How dare they act that way? Or I'm in friction with the world. I can't stand the world this way. Why is it like that? And I'm not talking about agreeing or liking what's happening in the world. I'm talking about when I'm psychologically in friction. In other words, I'm upset inside about the world. So, but in order to face the world and respond to it, I have to be able to be in harmony with what is, which is not the same as living. It's not the same as liking what's happening. It's just simply being in harmony with what is. So I'm seeing clearly what is, and I'm not being dominated by human reactivity. I'm just seeing clearly what is. And that being in harmony with what is enables me to respond. Now, so when I see myself in any kind of friction, I can assume straight away that there is an error in my perception. But normally I don't do that. Normally I justify the way I see. Of course I'm right. I just know that the way I see, because the way I see, I take to be true. That's a truism. The way I see, I take to be true. Now, unless I can really discover something new, unless I can actually discover new truths, if you like, unless I can actually discover facts, I can't help but remain the same, because I'm caught and I'm enclosed in my own standpoint, the subjective standpoint. And I can tell you, for most of my adult life, up until a couple of years ago, I relied entirely on my own standpoint, and I believed in it. So when I read a book, I read it from my own standpoint. When I look at my life, I look at it from my own standpoint. The problem was there was not much discovery. And you see, unless we actually make a shift to beginning to inquire, and unless we're making discoveries in terms of what's actually true, and then really starting to understand that, and then living it out on a daily basis, there is no chance for any change or shift. So when we're talking about Vedanta, we're talking about two things. We're talking about a transformation of our daily life. If that transformation is not happening, if the transformation of our mind is not happening, you're not studying Vedanta. You may be studying words about Vedanta. You may be studying about Vedanta, which is very easy to do. You just have to read a book. There's plenty of people on the internet that will just tell you what Vedanta is all about. But that, being told about what Vedanta is about, is not going to transform your life. Now, the basic principle, like I said, is that we are the problem and we are the solution. Now, our ignorance is the problem. It's what we don't see is the problem. And when that ignorance is removed and replaced by understanding, we see more. And this is the whole point. So just bear this in mind. If you think that you understand, and yet at the same time you're in conflict and you're angry and you're getting annoyed at people, and that you're unhappy, you have a problem with your understanding. You can take that as a basic starting point. I am not seeing straight. Great place to start. Because when you do that, you acknowledge that you're the problem. As soon as you start blaming, I'm upset because of this, because of that, because of this, you're no longer understanding that you are the problem. You think that other people and events are the problem, and that makes the solution completely outside your hands and will continue to make you into a victim.